Hi, Michael William Denny of thundershamanism.com, thunderwizard.com, and asktheshaman.com. So today we're going to be talking about Chapter 3 of the book, Rune Shamanism, The Forgotten Method of Galdr. By the way, if you're not familiar with my work, you can go ahead and click on any of the links below. You can go to thundershamanism.com, thunderwizard.com, and get an idea of what it is that I do. You'll also see a list of all of my books and DVDs. You can click on the link below and you can go directly to Amazon and buy the book Rune Shamanism, The Forgotten Method of Galdr. You can also talk to me directly if you want personal counseling, if you want personal instruction, if you want to have a rune reading from me. You can simply click on that button and you can call me on the phone directly and I'll give you a rune reading over the phone. So, Rune Shamanism, The Forgotten Method of Galdr, Chapter 3. So in this chapter we're going to be talking about the origins of the runes. Before we do that, it's very important that you go back and read those other two chapters, the introduction, which talks about what the purpose of this book is, which is to teach a forgotten method of chanting Galdr, which I believe was used in Ice Age times, which is also an incredibly powerful way to tap into these powers for magic, for self-transformation. We talked about what animism is, what shamanism is. It's basically the belief that everything in the universe has a conscious awareness with which we can communicate. The act of the purpose of the shaman is to act as a window for the spiritual into the physical realm. We talked about weird, which was the Germanic understanding of shamanism, which is the idea that past, present, and future are not linear. The shamanic understanding is that there is the ever-present, the ever-unfolding present moment. And from that present moment, we create both the past and the future. And this is, in the Germanic mindset, was called the web of weird. And this web was the life force conscious energy that was continuously weaving existence. And we create our lives in every moment with every choice that we make. And this is some of the basic understandings of the power of weird. So with that, we can now go in and look at what are the origins of the runes. Now, if you talk to just about anybody, whether it be an academician or even modern day heathens, pagans, Asatruers, whomever, they're going to tell you that the runes are the Germanic attempt to create an alphabet, the pre-Christian alphabet. So what they'll tell you is that at some point, not too long, about 2,000 years ago, the Germanic tribes decided they wanted to be like the Mediterranean tribes, and so they copied their alphabet and created their own alphabet, which we call the runes. Now, while this makes a lot of sense on the surface, when you look at it, you find out that that doesn't actually hold water. And when you look at the runes, what they really tell us is that this is a much older spiritual path for these people, and that the writing of the actual letters of the runes may have happened at that point in time. But there are two things that disprove the idea that the runes are simply the Germanic attempt to create an alphabet. And one is the uniqueness of the runes, and the other one is the universality of the runes. So first, let's talk about the uniqueness of the runes. The runes are unique in this way. There is no other alphabet on the planet that goes in the sequential order that the runes do. Futhark, starting with the F sound, the U sound, the TH sound, the A sound, the R sound, the K sound. You will not find any other alphabet that goes in that order. And why that's significant is this, is because if what the Germanic people were trying to do was simply copy, the Romans or the Greeks or whomever, they would have copied that alphabet. And the Roman alphabet that we use today, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, was the same. It was a very universal alphabet. Same with the Greeks. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta. It's the same idea. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That was the the progression of letters. And so if the Germanic tribes were simply trying to copy them, they would have copied that order as well. So the Germanic people were very practical. They still are. You know, we have a saying that we use all the time, which is, if it works, don't fix it. It's a very Germanic concept. You know, they're very utilitarian, very practical people. And if something worked, they used it. They wouldn't change something if it worked. So there was no need for them to do that. Now, the other thing that makes that interesting is because even if, let's say, that's true, that they wanted to copy the Mediterraneans and to be unique, they created their own unique order, we have another problem. The problem is the universality of it amongst all of the Germanic tribes. At that time in history, about 2,000 years ago, the Germanic tribes were vast, spread over large area, and they were warring with each other. So even though they shared a common root language, by then their language had started to differentiate, their cultures had started to differentiate, and they fought amongst each other. So there was a lot of intertribal warfare among the Germanic people. And so if that's the case, if they're all fighting with each other, if their cultures and their languages are starting to now change, how is it that every single one of the Germanic tribes used what we now call the Elder Futhark, which would be the original? The only way that that makes sense is that the Futhark, the order of those sounds, the alphabet, has to be much older, has to go back into a time when there was just one larger group of what we would call Proto-Germanic people who spoke the same language and operated within the same culture. Because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. So when you look at it now, this theory, and that's all it is. There's no proof, by the way. There's no proof that the runes were invented at such and such date by so-and-so in an attempt to copy the Romans or the Greeks. There is no proof whatsoever. It's merely a conjecture. It's merely a theory. And it's based on trying to look backwards and project modern understanding. Because that's what we did. You know, the modern alphabet, English alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, was lifted directly from the Romans. We took it right from Latin and plopped it right into our society. So that's what people think that they must have done. So you have to understand what the runes are. So the point of all this rambling is that the runes are not just an alphabet. The runes are a sacred system of sounds. And of course they correspond with the building blocks of the Germanic language. That's what the Futhark is. It's the building blocks of the Proto-Germanic language. And so that means that these people thought that sound, that speaking words, was a sacred act. And by using these sounds in combinations, you created things. Words were not just a way to send information from one person to another. Words were actually spells. That's where we get the word spell from. When you spell a word, it was going back to this time when spelling a word actually was a magical chant, a magical spell. So anyway, enough rambling on that. If you want to learn more about it, go ahead and click on the link below. Get the book Rune Shamanism, The Forgotten Method of Galder. You can also, again, click on either one of the websites, or you can click on AskTheShaman.com if you want to talk to me directly, ask me questions directly, or if you want me to give you a rune reading over the phone, click on that and I'll give you a reading.